So today we are hearing from Jerilee Petralba and Dr. Jaime Hannans. They are from California State University Channel Islands. And Jerilee Petralba is digital analyst and CRM admin. And Dr. Jaime Hannans, Associate Dean of Extended University and Professor of Nursing. Now, they came to visit a year ago when they had built Mahi bought a PlayLab app and shared their journey so far. And here we're lucky to have them a year later to tell us where that journey went and all the insights and learnings along the way. Thank you so much, Jerilee and Jaime, and over to you.
Thanks, Cassandra. We're so excited to be back. As mentioned, I'm the Associate Dean of Extended University, and I've been with our area of campus. Our campus is about 4,500 students or so. So we're one of the smallest or smaller of the California State University campuses. But in our area specifically, we serve graduate and undergraduate students as well as our online programs. And so we have a really unique population where we're not serving a traditional freshman student. Many of our students are working, they're taking classes after hours or in the evenings, they might be across the state. And so, really, our Mahi bot came out of needing to support a little bit different population of students. So, I'll let Jerilee share the slides and then we'll get started. As mentioned, my background is nursing, and I've been a nursing professor on campus for a while. But in the last 3 years, I've been the Associate Dean of Extended University, and we have sort of a cross mix of a variety of programs from computer science, business, psychology, biotechnology. And so we are serving a broad population of students that aren't necessarily here on campus. Jerilee, do you want to tell a little bit more about your background? She is the magic behind the scenes.
So I'm the digital analyst, CRM administrator in Extended University, and my job primarily is to help with efficiency and implementation. So, and then the rollout and the maintenance. So we try to get whatever projects we have, I help with the beginning and then get them all the way to the end. So this is why this is the whole build of the chatbot was perfect fit for my position. And I've been with Extended University 4 years, but with the campus 21 years. So it's been a while.
So our first presentation, as mentioned, was a year ago. So if you were here, thanks for joining us again. We had about 4 or 5 months of data at that time because we did launch MahiBot in September of 2024. So we're excited to kind of bring you up to speed with the update on what's happened after having over a year's worth. Really, we'll talk about what happened, what worked, what broke, what surprised us, how it's evolved. And then towards the end, Jerilee is going to go through a demo and give you a number of examples of just different viewpoints of kind of explaining that in more detail. So we launched in September 2024. And again, the whole background and reason is we have, more of the traditional Monday through Friday staff on board and working, and we know we wanted to be able to support students after hours. We were getting a number of emails and questions, weekends, evenings, and knowing that we don't necessarily have staff working to answer those questions. So how could we better support and offer more of that wraparound 24/7 support? And so it really started in this idea of, okay, well, let's create a bot that can basically interpret our website data and give some answers. We were able to, of course, power it with PlayLab, and I am not a computer scientist in any way. And so, from the user standpoint, we did explore a couple of different ways to go. PlayLab was definitely most user friendly and really providing what we wanted, which also created the background of having an ability to review the chats and make sure they were accurate. So we get a lot of students who ask, more frequently asked questions or things that they aren't spending time hunting down through the website or may not naturally know which way to go on the website or how to find it. And so it's been really helpful, I think, in getting quick answers to students. We do have it as anonymous. So students are not required, or prospective students, or even faculty, anybody who uses it. We've had staff use it to test it and or look for information. We really have kept it all anonymous. So there's no, requirement to add any information or data. It's really just a chatbot, a virtual assistant. So initially, we did a lot of testing. We did a internal team, like break the bot session with our subject matter experts internally when we were first launching it. We really integrated the introductions to it for our students in our new student orientation every semester as we welcome new students. We send out a little welcome campus kind of swag pack, and it includes some information about MahiBot as well as talking about it in our online orientation. And so we really try to get students using it early. So if they're looking for registration dates or other things, they know they have a go-to answer those quick questions. So what really happened is we thought we'd get a lot of current students using it to get questions answered, but we didn't realize the distribution and the questions that we would get from prospective students. You can see that that's been the majority. And I think, in the recruitment and outreach, it's become much more of a support than we realized, giving those details about application process, programs, questions in detail about how a program might run or who to contact. And so you can see we've had a number of prospective students also using it. We really are reaching the demographic that we wanted to, which is both our prospective students and our current students. And what has been a big win for us that we thought and wanted to happen, but we weren't positive that we now, a year plus later, have been able to really answer is MahiBot is like for nursing triage, right? So there's these questions that were coming through email that were getting delayed answers over the weekend that now are getting answered by MahiBot, and our email inbox has completely changed and transferred from really basic questions that are all on the website to more complex questions where they need staff support. So MahiBot is like this little, in my world, a little triage nurse that's sort of checking in with people and getting questions answered and then referring them back for help if it's more complicated. It really has helped answer a lot of the gaps. And in addition, the other win that we didn't expect was the chatbot has been able to find errors. So when we review the chats and there's an error, we've been able to identify content on the website that's outdated or not updated. I know many, many times all of you that deal with websites in any way have realized there's a page or a link or something that didn't get updated, and MahiBot is helping us solve that problem as well. So we can go to the next slide. So lessons learned. This is not a separate MahiBot goes and runs even now. It's, as I said, triaging and really helping us with high volume questions and things that are already readily available, but we still have the human factor involved. And so I'll let Jerilee talk a little bit more about what we learned on this part.
What we did, like the chats, I've noticed that the conversations are so many different topics. You would think they would only ask about the program, but then sometimes they'll ask about enrollment admissions at the same time. And what we've noticed is for the first few, the average right now, if I can figure all the months that we've had it on, is 74 chats per month. But then if we look at the pre-fall, which is around September to July 2025, and then the post-fall, which is from August 25 to December 25, we went from 61 chats to 104 chats. So there's a growing list of users. And so we're trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we keep the humans in the loop, but also figure out a system to maintain and figure out what the trends are, what we need to change. So our next part is how we're using Airtable. So Airtable is a system we use to manage a lot of our processes. It's currently our CRM right now. And this Airtable is really where the conversations in PlayLab become data. And so we have around 12 conversations, so 1,212 conversations. And I'll show more information on that in the live part of the demo. But as you can see, the top 5 programs, the first one is not specified. So we know that they're coming in to the to MahiBot in the first part of our admissions funnel. So they're still trying to decide what program they're interested in. And right now, psychology is our second most popular because that's our largest program. And with Airtable, I'm also able to figure out the accuracy of PlayLab. So it's not really PlayLab's accuracy, it's the prompts that we built and how we've trained the AI. And the bonus part of how we use all this is I was able to use it to train and onboard. We had someone who started 6 months ago, and of course, this is a chat bar, right? So it wasn't even FAQ for students 24/7. But I didn't think I used it as multi-purpose, used it to train someone, to figure out, to learn about our programs, learn how we help our students, and use PlayLab and use Airtable. So it's multi-purpose. Jamie, did you want to talk about the suite part?
Yeah, so really going back to this concept of how, and let me just pause and answer this question in the chat. Do we have someone who can engage in live chatting with learners to help real-time or complex questions? No, we don't have anybody tied into PlayLab that's answering, 24/7 or more immediately, even Monday through Friday. Jerilee is 100% on top of reviewing the chats that we get Monday through Friday. And so we do follow up when we can, but again, it's anonymous. So sometimes we don't know who to follow up with if they haven't, given any information about who they are. That's most often, but there are times that they may share and we can follow up. Most of the time, Mahi is already referring them to the correct people, right? So Mahi's telling them who to follow up with from our team, who to email, offering even to help draft an email. So it is really engaging in that way, but we do not have a live person also answering just because of the design of PlayLab really being the chat that's separate and not 24/7 managed live. But what's happened in the year is, we really started with MahiBot and this idea of wraparound support and wanting to really find a way to support students more frequently and in this 24/7 kind of messaging and response time. We have the chatbot, and most of us on the team all have the chatbot linked in our email for responses and really try to make it something that students and prospective students and anyone can regularly use. But since last year, we've had these other ideas about what else can we do and what other ways can we support students that maybe haven't been available to really continue that wraparound support, especially for our online population. We have some of our programs, like, for example, our online psychology program has students in over half of the counties in California. And so many of them do not live in the area. And so while there's people they can reach out to, what other aspects of support do they need? So we're really looking now at a suite of supports across multiple platforms. And we're using another AI tool and have used the same persona. So instead of MahiBot, Mahi will text. It's a text-based AI and engage with students that are admitted. And so this is for retention all the way through graduation, as well as offering support. It's really about listening to the student voice and trying to find out what other supports do students need, what are they struggling with, and really do early intervention if they're identified as high risk. And so, again, we have this AI text chat. We're using the same persona so students feel like they have Mahi supporting them from beginning to end of their time with us. But there is a dedicated staff behind the scenes with that tool that's also checking in, following up, looking for those high-risk students, and doing a really personal, high-touch outreach to get them connected. Our latest PlayLab bot is Coach Mahi. The other thing we realized students need, graduate and undergraduate students, sometimes need help getting ready for the workforce. And so, fan of Ted Lasso, you can see the resemblance with Coach Mahi, that positive, I'm here to help you, I'm here to support you, I'm here to meet your goals. Really, this idea of having a coach help them along with resume building, or what would this degree lead me to in a job? How can I get ready for interviews? And using a lot of the resources that we already have dedicated to students online for support, and getting them some early answers about how would I get this kind of support? Who should I reach out to? Who can help me with a letter of recommendation? We are early piloting that. We haven't had a ton of use yet with students. We're really trying to figure out how to get students more engaged and more interested in using it earlier in their degree plan as they're looking towards graduation and their next jobs of the future. But we do need to figure out how to get them using Coach Mahi. MahiBot just launched kind of once we shared it. Coach Mahi, it's taking a little bit more to get that going. So I'm going to hand it back to Jerilee to do the demo, which is probably what you're most interested in, seeing like the actual kind of launch of some of this.
So before we start the demo, I just want to show a sneak peek of a social media campaign that we're launching this afternoon. Our marketing team introduces, we try to get engagement, so we're introducing MahiBot again to new students and our current students. So let me just play. Hopefully people can hear the sound.
Meet MahiBot, the friendly dolphinfish AI assistant and proud member of the CSUCI Extended University team. Mahi helps students explore programs, apply for admissions, and navigate enrollment with ease. Behind every chat is a team dedicated to accuracy, clarity, and getting students the answers they need. Students ask everything from nursing and psychology program requirements to transfer credits, deadlines, and financial aid. And MahiBot delivers, providing clear, accurate answers and guiding users to the right resources or EU team member when needed. Available 24/7, MahiBot supports prospective, current, and international students anytime they need quick answers. From enrollment issues to advising questions, from scholarships to graduation requirements, MahiBot tackles real student needs every day. So whether you're just exploring or already on your path, MahiBot is here to guide you every step of the way. Meet Mahi.
So that's one of the videos that we have. Our next part is, where do you find Mahi? Like, how do students find it? They can find it in our signature lines if they email our main email line. But on our website, we have a whole section right in the middle where they can click and chat with MahiBot, and then it can also chat with Coach Mahi. But this is what the bots look like. So this is MahiBot. We make sure we include information about who MahiBot is and what the purpose, and that it is AI. We also make sure they don't disclose any personal identifiable information. This is not connected to any of our systems, so we don't want that information. We also disclose that the chats are monitored because we want to make sure that the responses are accurate. I have a little feedback section here where I have it set to prompt after like 7 to 10 chats because we didn't want it to be all the time. So far, I have no takers, but I'm hopeful. And then we also have a little section here where we can kind of give them more information about upcoming programs, videos, and that's where the Meet MahiBot will be soon. This is what Coach Mahi looks like. And same way, we have the same setup with the information, but Coach Mahi has a little bit more input. So we want to get information about if they're undergrad or graduate, and then what program they're interested in. So then the bot can be more specific when it's providing the support. But I think, how did you make the side panel? Oh, it's part of the build. So I'll show you the build. So here, this is what PlayLab looks like when you're building your app. Let me go back to the workspace. So really, once you have a PlayLab account, you have a workspace that you have access to, and we have our two bots in here. So we have MahiBot, and then we have Coach Mahi. And then to edit, you would just click on edit. So, and the best part about PlayLab, there's actually a lot of great features, But if you wanted to rebuild this whole system and you wanted to use it with your own data, you can just click on Remix up here, and then you can copy the whole build and just update it with your info. And so you don't have to start from scratch. You can just leverage what's already been created. But I wanted to go over the first part is the chat, the LLM. We're using ChatGPT 4.1. The reason why is because I found that it's the less word. The others are a lot more wordy when they're responding to things. So ChatGPT 4.1 is a lot less. But I haven't upgraded to the 5.1 or 5.2 because it's a lot slower. So 4.1 has been the best one for us. I have the variability set at 60%. 0% is if you want it to only use your prompts and your references, nothing else. 100% is a lot more creative, but we found 60% to be the most reliable. Let's see. I have my script because I can talk about this for hours, and so I want to stay on track. This whole section is really where the build happens. So this is where you would build the prompts. We have subheaders that where we have we define the background. And here's my little information about when I want that feedback to show up. And it's every 10 messages. Without this prompt, that feedback shows up all the time. So you have to add certain triggers and certain guardrails. The audience, we define the audience, we define the workflow. The conversation rules is really the bulk of the prompts. And I started with 1 to 5, but as you can see, it's ballooned to, I think I have 173 prompts. And that's all generated because of the student data. When they're asking the questions, that's what updates, that's what creates the prompts and generates the prompts. So I have different headers where I have information on like the program requirements, the program curriculum, the key resources that we want. And the reason with PlayLab, the information that's on this section is what it queries first, and then it uses your references, and then whatever's online. So it kind of puts all of it together. So it pulls the information that's on here, which is a pain point because if the tuition changes and I didn't update it here, but it's updated on the website, it's gonna there's a mismatch of data. So you want to make sure it's consistent, but I'm always on top of it. And I have another staff member who we train who's also on top of it. Let me see. My next part is the testing. So I'm going to show you one today where I just added, so building prompts, there's a section where you can use the assistant that PlayLab uses right here. There's also references where you can pin all the areas from your website that you want it to reference first. And what I learned is, I think it was just October, November, that our bot kept giving a year's worth, like a information session from a year ago. I'm thinking, I've updated it everywhere. Where is it pulling this from? The website's updated, the prompts are updated, but my references weren't updated. So just in case you're building an app and you're thinking, why is it giving outdated info? It's because you have to delete the reference and repin it. So whenever a website changes. So that's one part, but let me show you one. And a lot of these prompts, I have ChatGPT help me write. My prompt in ChatGPT is, I have the following information from what our process is. Here is the subject matter. This is the feedback that I got from the subject matter expert. Put this together, provide me a PlayLab prompt that's concise. And so ChatGPT created this. And prior to that, I was asking, we made changes, right, to our math program. It's still ongoing. Is MS Math online? So the first answer was, it's not fully online. And here's another one where I asked, is MS Math online? It says, no, it's primarily on campus. So I literally had to add this whole prompt where we're talking about how it's changing and it's going to change in summer. And then now it has this whole, yes, it's online. And then it gives all this information about being available summer 2026. So those are the prompt changes that can be used. And it just works the way it's supposed to. And sometimes I just wonder, like, how did the AI figure that out? But okay, it works. And the best part, another best part about PlayLab is the chat activity. So this is how we tried to build this as a custom ChatGPT in ChatGPT when the CSU provided licenses for all their users, but we couldn't get the history of the chat conversation. That's something that PlayLab provides. And because of this, because we can export this data into Airtable, that's how we get the whole information. So I'm going to show you next how to what Airtable looks like. So once I'm done with PlayLab, so this is where the conversations happen, and then Airtable is where the data is read. So I'm going to copy. So this is how it's pretty quick. So it depends on how you want to see. You look at this, you review. This is an example of a conversation the student has. They're interested in applying. They specify what program they're interested in, and it gives an answer, right? So these are possible program information, and she's mentioning, or she is they're interested in nursing, and what programs can they apply for? And so it's like we have a MSN program, and we have the Track 2 program, which is RN to BSN. And then how do I work towards my RN? It gives you all these information, right, that the students can get, and then this testing. And I am not the subject matter expert. I do not know if all of this information is right. So what I'll do is I'm going to mark it as room for improvement and track it for someone to review. So right now, I'm going to show you how I copy. Airtable allows us to have a form, and it collects the data. So what I do is I paste the whole conversation. I'll copy this link too so that we can reference it easily. And I'll put today's date. And then this is the part where I used it for training. So when I was training someone, I had them check training and then mark it as training so that I could audit it. But now what she does is she reviews the conversation and sees if it's correct or room for improvement. And so once it comes in for room for improvement and it's it's submitted, it's going to show up in our Airtable base. So I'll submit that and I'll show that later, like how it's accepted. But this is our Airtable dashboard. You can see that all the interactions is probably going to update that because I had that. I just submitted that new one. So now it's 12:13. It's real time. We've had 72 international questions. 81 questions have been reviewed by subject matter experts. Right now I have 169 that I marked as room for improvement. I call it room for improvement. It's because it's not all wrong. The conversation is partly right, but partly wrong. And we just need to update the prompts. I have one pending review and one pending prompt audit. So that's for me. And this is for our subject matter experts to review. I used 407 prompts to train our new person, or 407 interactions to train the new person. And I also started, when they self-identify, I'm starting to track the impact. How was it resolved? I find them all in our system and then mark it as completed and resolved. So we talked about the distribution of the usage. So as you can see, it's starting to just pick up, right? And when it starts to pick up, we're starting to be like, okay, we have to figure out a way to automate some of the processes and not have to enter every single data. So before, you know how when I submitted this and it's only 3 options and these are already set to default, prior to this, I had to identify the topic of the conversation. I had to identify what program, the type of users, all that stuff. But now because of Airtable's AI, which is Omni, it now reviews the conversation and classifies and figures out what the program is, what the gist of the conversation is. And so it provides us all this data. 95% are outside users and 4% are our internal team who use it as a resource. Again, our program is of interest, the types of questions. You can see that there's multiple topics in a conversation. Primarily it's 2, sometimes there's 3, but it's a lot of, they're going all over the place when they're chatting with the AI. So people are a lot more comfortable chatting with AI from the conversations that I've monitored. And so the next part we were trying to figure out is, okay, we have this whole process. How can we maintain this? How is this sustainable? How can one person or 2 people constantly have to enter the data? Well, my first part is I have to figure out a way how to get this data from PlayLab to Airtable. That's in the works, and that would save us so much time. But right now, this process has been cut down. Submitting a chat before would take around 4 or 5 minutes. Now I have it down to like 1 to 2 minutes using Airtable's AI. But the accuracy. So you can see here, when we first started it, we didn't have enough prompts. We didn't have the information. So the error rate was at 42%, right? So versus the 58%. But the more we improved the prompts, it started to learn, and it starts to learn. And all of these bumps right here, February, April, and July, is because I realized after the fact that I had to update the term information. So when a new term is added, a lot of these people will start asking in February about summer. Around April, they start asking about fall. And fall, in summer, they start asking about fall. But have you noticed that it's starting to improve because I started to build in the updates prior to that start of the new term, just to eliminate all that questions. You can see I started also tracking what the inaccuracy were, right? It's because I had to improve the prompts. I've had to add 39 new prompts because of inaccurate questions. We've had to update the website 15 times. The system has been down 6 times, which is pretty good, right, for that much. And then we've created a couple of guides. I've had to reconfigure the Play Lab 11 times. So, and this is also my next step is we're trying, Omni was just put in Airtable. I think we launched it in fall. So I don't know if I'd fully trust the classification. It's tagging for all the programs. So I'm continuing to audit it. And as soon as I get like better, I mean, 90% is pretty good, but I like to just oversee. We like to have a person oversee AI. And let me show you some demo. So let me show you this. These are the notes that I've had when, so Emma is our new staff member and she's the one helping me. So this is how I trained her on like some of these information and there's notes for her. And so these are samples. So here's one that actually just came in today. So I was like, oh, it's perfect for our training. Right, Jamie?
Yes.
So
this is the one I put a little in the chat about what happened for context and history of our math program.
So this person chatted, right? And they're interested in the MS math program, but it's changing, right, for us. But then she said it's paused for spring 2025. But then she said, no, there's this information about in the admissions page. And so what I did was I went to the 2 pages and it had their incorrect information. The admissions page had this, but then the program page had this. So it found an error in our website. So I messaged Daniel and Jamie, who handles this information. And so he verified that it needs to be changed and he made the update. I made the update. So my next thing is to create the prompt. And you saw that. You saw that prompt here. So this whole thing is what resulted because of that one chat conversation. And with Airtable, we're able to add all of this tracking in one system. So I messaged them, they let me know. Now that I know I'm supposed to edit that prompt, I'm going to change the status to prompt edit. And then, but because I did this already and I was trying to show it real time, I'm going to mark it as prompt updated and I'm going to mark it as complete. And actually this one, it's going to result in a website information update and I'm just going to mark this as complete. And that's how we track like each chat conversation. And here's another one. This is perfect.
Well, let me just mention on that one, there's so many layers to it, right? So the website needed to update it and we didn't realize. We got the question 14 hours ago, I think it said. Yeah. But by this morning, within the first couple of hours of our day starting, using Airtable, there's not emails going around and all this misinformation. I mean, there's a link that because she can tag Daniel or I, or whoever needs to make the correction or verification, it happens so fast and it doesn't have to take, 10 emails to get something fixed. It just is this really efficient way for us to respond, look at the inquiry, make the update, and have the website current. And so even with all of that, Jerilee, if you'll open the chat, MahiBot still answered correctly, technically. So
yes,
the student says, well, I see that it's paused, but I also see summer application. And then at the bottom, you can kind of see, great question. It's true. It's in progress. So, it even corrected itself, even though the source was inconsistent. Like it still gave the adequate information so that the student isn't turned away who's inquiring, right? And so I feel like all of those layers make it it's functioning really, really well for us.
Yeah, and when it does this too, when it recorrects itself, it does also provide that they should email like our EXT, our main line, just to get confirmation. It also likes to redirect them to the admissions page with that information. I know I've seen chat conversation where the student is like, no, I want the detail now. But then actually have built-in prompts where I say, if they keep asking, just direct them here and tell them to scroll down to the bottom, read this section, because I want them to actively find that information, right? Instead of just giving it to them, because I want it to be, it's a lot more consistent and correct if they go there, because that page updates all the time. Our web pages are updating and changing. So if they go directly to the data, instead of just giving them the info, it's a lot easier to get more accurate responses. But I also have a status for monitor. So this is a student, and I know, and this is the type of wraparound support we were talking about, where things start to escalate when they're chatting with the bot. This student chatted with the bot 3 times. They're trying to enroll in one of our programs. The first time I noticed it, I'm like, okay. The second time, I'm thinking, who is this? And then the third time, they finally disclosed who they were. And MahiBot gave them an email that they could send to our EXT email. And the student did. The student followed up with our EXT. As this was happening, I actually went into the emails and found it. And then I reached out to our student assistant. Hey, have you been talking to this student? And I said, yes. And I know exactly what the issue was, because I was in a conversation with the person who handles that and who processed his information in the morning. And so I was able to, I just did, because I'm the one who has to handle, like, if there's issues with a student's login. I went ahead and reached out to him, gave him the information, and now I have I'll check back with him on Wednesday to make sure that everything's working, and then I'll track this as resolved if it does work out. So that's the kind of, we're trying to stop them from getting so frustrated and upset, and trying to do a more proactive outreach, right? So hopefully this one gets resolved by Wednesday. Do we still have time? Because I have way more examples than time.
We're doing good. We're around 2:45, and we'll be here till 3:15. Everyone, if you have to go on the hour, you'll miss part of it, but I think we're doing pretty good. It's incredible, Jerilee and Jamie.
So I have one more sample where this one is a training win for me. When Emma was logging this information, so all of these fields that have a green here, these green buttons, are all the AI, the Omni AI for Airtable. So all of these are not, we didn't enter it. Omni just read the chat conversation and pre-filled all this information. That's actually saved us so much time too. But she messaged me saying, hey, the cost is wrong. We just need to update it for fall. So this was happening in September. And if you look at the chat conversation, it's actually, I mean, it's not wrong. So it was giving $475 because that was the rate prior to fall, but it did give the information for fall. But if I open up the tuition page, if you don't have in PlayLab, like the prompts, PlayLab does not know, like it can't read these tables. I don't know, for some reason there's something, or I need to figure out how to write it better, the prompts, but it will either give you 505, it gives you 525, it adds up all these rates. So what I did was I make sure in my prompts, I actually have in the build here, I have the right tuition rate. That's how I've resolved that issue. But it was perfect because Emma, who I've been training, picked that up. And then now I'm like, okay, it's working. Whatever we're teaching her, whatever the process is, she's understanding that she needs, like, how to review the conversations. Another thing is, so there's California has a new Senate bill that's required for like safety rights when you're dealing with chatbots. It just got, so I'm still waiting for like the rollout implementation, like the guidelines for it. But I already flagged that information in like I already built like a sample chat conversation just to test to see how the AI will determine, like, if there's some kind of conversation about self-harm or any kind of so here's one. We configured our app to have the information about our counseling and basic resources, basic needs, our support system. But then we also have it where the AI will give you all these information about, like, the hotlines, the crisis hotlines you can contact. But what Airtable has done is, you see this little flag right here. It says content flagged by usage policy. So anything that it's harmful or anything that says something negative, Airtable already flags. So then I have something built in to monitor, like, the protocol, the safety. And I also built in an additional, I think I called it AI safety protocol, where I have an app like just tagging the conversation as concerning. So here's it's either concerning or no issue. So then I have to make sure to start monitoring that too, because that's probably going to get rolled out soon, the policy or the process. And let me show you. So what I'm showing you now is the interface in Airtable. So this is all just data, but we tend to build in the backend. So this is what the backend looks like in Airtable. Remember that it looks like Excel, right? But it's so easy. Like at first, it's probably if you're not used to seeing it. But then the more you're doing it, the more it makes sense why things are the way they are. But remember that conversation that I entered right here. I add this here because I want to monitor that this is a conversation for this, for that one that I just entered for the month of January. And then my status, I'm just going to put it as requires review, because then I'm going to tag Jamie. And I'm going to ask her, can you review the conversation? Wait, she's in there right now. Because I do not know what an ATI-TEAS is, like whatever that requirement is for nursing. So what I'll do is it's now going to show up in our requires review for her. And then later on, she'll message me when that's ready for the build. But this is what the prompts are behind the scenes in Airtable. So let me show you those fields. So I have one that determines what the topic of the question is. So if I edit this field, so these are field agents in Airtable. And I just have a prompt here saying that you're an AI tasked with summarizing the topic of the conversations, and then whatever the field is. And I say no more than 5 words. And I also said, do not include personal information as the topic of the name, because it likes to put the person's name on there. And so I make sure to remove that part. But then I have on here the different options, the different choices of the topics. And then I have, it determines the program. So again, this is an AI that's built in. It reviews the chat activity field, and then it just adds, I have it classified as grad program if it's anything to do with graduate, undergraduate, but if they're super specific, it just picks the programs for me. But this has saved me, again, that 75% of my time filling in these fields, because it's just going to classify that. And then I started adding this whole new sentiment thing where it's just, if it's neutral, positive, negative, I don't know what to do with it yet, but it's something that we're doing. And we're moving forward. We're thinking of using pooled audits instead of auditing every single conversation. We're thinking of just auditing like the program inquiries, right? Applications, or the admissions questions, because it's not sustainable to audit every single question, but that's still in the works, and we're still trying to decide what to do with that. But I also have my ever-growing impact, right? Like, so there's 20 people who have self-identified. I have figured out that we've resolved these after MahiBot referred them to someone internal or refer them to our email. So that's something too that we're trying to like figure out, like, what is it? Is it really helping us? And everyone, I don't know, we think that Mahi is part of our team. Whenever there's some kind of updates, I'm always kept in the loop saying, hey, can you update MahiBot? Can you do this? Or so, but that's my presentation. I don't know, questions? I can talk forever.
Yeah, and I want to add one more thing about when we started a year and a half ago, we weren't thinking about the data side yet. We were just thinking about this student support. And then as it's evolved, we realized really not just auditing, but this ability to pair the tools, and to really look at and try to evaluate, okay, what kind of impact is this having for our team, for our workload flows, for our efficiencies? How do we measure that part? How do we measure the ROI of doing this, and making sure that the time, Jerilee's time, right? The auditing time, like what's most efficient? How is it helping us? When does it become, or will it ever become too much work, right? Some of those pieces are really requiring us to understand the data, or even being able to say, okay, MahiBot has made an impact on email. So looking at our general extended university email and looking at the trends and the differences of conversation and being able to pull all of that data relatively quickly and then understand what's changed or how MahiBot has impacted the kinds of questions we're getting. So we know if it's working, if it's not, if it's doing what we wanted, if it's doing something we didn't expect, and how to use that data to really continue to inform us on next steps. And I think that part has been really important. So I know there's a question. Um, is there questions specifically on the back end more or something else we can show you on PlayLab or Airtable that would be helpful? This has not been a, coding. We've just learned as we've gone. So I know parts of it probably can seem a little overwhelming at this point, but it is a year and a half project that we just keep having questions and figuring out how to answer that, either through changes in PlayLab or tying in, looking at data through Airtable.
And I had asked, and I saw Jerilee replied about the social media handle. Yes, please share the general one so we can follow. We can't get enough of Mahi. You see all the thumbs up. Jerilee said she could talk for hours, and we can hear you for hours. But I know you got other things to do, like take care of the Mahi bot and reviewing all these chats and all the amazing work you're doing at CSU. And I really love the capacity to like send it to Jamie and have all those internal communications. The chat was really blowing up over the Airtable and how you demo that. Um, it looks like we took care, Shannon, of the immediate questions very efficiently. So I wonder, I'll remove the spotlight now so we can see everybody. Are there other things that you'd like to see from Jerilee and Jamie? I have some thoughts, but I'll be quiet and let everyone get a chance. Or if you want to speak up on the microphone and ask us directly.
I do want to echo what Jamie was saying earlier that I have no background. Like, right, my background's not computer science. My degree is in art. So, but I was able to build this, right, and use AI like as a resource and to augment, right, instead of like replacing. So we're constantly making improvements, and we're tying it into all our other like student services that we're providing. So it's extremely helpful. And if anyone ever wants to do like a one-on-one demo of how I built this stuff, feel free to message me. You're welcome to. I can show you like more one-on-one if interested.
Yes, and so Jerilee, your background is art design. Jamie comes from nursing, and this is so inspiring, right? All the things we can do. What this group is about, feeling empowered. And I see Jill's here, and just Jill, do you want to say something? Share with. I know you put it in the chat, but
Yeah, I've
CSU.
been listening
Introduce
quietly.
yourself. Sorry.
Yeah, been listening quietly here. I'm Jill Leifson, the Dean for Extended University, and just love to hear Jerilee and Jamie talk about this work. I think that the key that has really made this work is the willingness to take risks and setting aside the fear of failure. And so when you listen to the cycle that they're going through, it really provides some protections around the risks that so many people mention before they dive in. What if it gets it wrong? And Jerilee and Jamie have been truly fearless in diving into this and keeping it completely focused on the students. And I think as a leader, we need to think more about how to create spaces where people are safe to take those risks because the students are benefiting. So I don't know how we articulate that to people with these new tools coming, but I think it's been a real game changer for us.
Thank you. And I know many that are watching here and in the chat want to take the inspiration to their own campuses and like what we want to do. Yeah, we want to do something like what CSU Channel Islands is doing.
I think there's a couple of questions. Shelley, thanks for the question and nice to see you online. Has any of this transferred to the teaching side or extended education faculty exploring chatbots with PlayLab or for classes? Lorna Gonzalez, who leads our teaching and learning innovations team, has worked closely with a number of faculty, and there's been AI projects in all different realms using different tools. I don't know, Jill, if you know any specific faculty leading or using PlayLab, but we are exploring a chatbot for main campus, and we are looking at, I know there's other faculty that have been exploring and looking at PlayLab and kind of following what we've done with MahiBot. Not always specifically extended university faculty only, because the teaching and learning innovations team really crosses both our state support and extended university folks. But there's a lot happening and has been with AI, with Jill's leadership and Lorna Gonzalez leading a number of opportunities to explore tools. And we're always so grateful that there's this opportunity, as Jill said, to test and explore. I know Dr. Williams also had a question about, have there been any insights in how students have developed through the support using Mahi data? I think we've seen, and Jerilee, jump in on this if you have a different opinion, but I think we've seen some interesting evolution of questions from students and use, and of course that growth of use for students, not just our extended university students. We've even had faculty jump in and ask questions to MahiBot. We've had staff. We've had both our in-person students through state support jumping into MahiBot at various times and asking questions, as well as the big population of prospective students. So, I mean, one-off, it's been interesting to see how they're communicating with the chatbot, and sometimes seem to be even more vulnerable or sharing more than I would anticipate in an email. But it's really been, looking at individual conversations from my point of view. Jerilee, do you have other?
The same. It's evolved, right? In the beginning, and you know what? The one thing students don't like to provide is their name, because what they do, they start every single chat conversation, sometimes with just the question. And I do that myself, but I haven't had I don't want to remove that part because it's very welcoming, but that's the one thing. So the students are asking, there's just so many, the conversations are getting lengthier. So it's taking a lot more. They're asking questions about almost everything. And it's almost like they're not afraid that they're being judged, right? You're not judged by the AI. The AI is constantly just confirming and giving you information. And so that's my other thing too. Like, should we add a prompt to make it more critical, or at least not always agreeing with everything, but our prompt is to be helpful. So to be helpful is to provide the info. But it's I do like it when they self-identify, because I can help them. Like, I can figure out what the question is and then send them to the right person. And for the ones who do, they're getting that support. So I just love how that whole setup is.
And you've talked about many things that you've improved, so many, and that areas for future improvement. I'm going to ask you, let's see, using your imagination. It's a surprise, like thinking a year ahead. Oh, like let's say it's January 2027 already. What would you most hope to have seen in the year? Like, what areas are you most excited about of all the things that are going on in improving the experience for students and improving the data gathering? What do you?
We have big ideas for expansion of the suite, I think. Advising, coaching, we'd like to improve or look at the possibility and are exploring the possibility of transcript review with AI. So there's a lot of ideas in the work. Jerilee, what else?
My one wish list is to automate this and have integration. That's my one thing that I've been wanting from the very beginning. But that would save us so much time, right? But yes, the transcript one would be wonderful, right, for our admissions team. But it's evolving so much. Like, I never thought it would be where we are now, right, with MahiBot. And and that happened within a year, and it flew by. So I don't even know what to expect anymore because there's always something changing. But I'm
They
hopeful.
say with AI, the timeline is different, right? Like each month is like a year, and MahiBot shows that more than ever because you've done so much this past year, much more than a year. Oh, it looks like we got one more question from Adil in Turkey. What about have you encountered hallucinated answers? Have you faced that? And any
Yes.
tips like completely made up?
Yes, 7 times because that's when I marked it as completely incorrect. When I looked and it was partly because we didn't have the prompts. It made up a faculty. It wasn't the faculty existed, but they just weren't tied to the MBA program. And it said that faculty was in the MBA program, but the faculty was also faculty, but also an admin. So there was confusion. I don't know where that information was. But but it's nothing. Because we review every single conversation and I have a prompt for almost everything that I can think of, it has not made any unwanted hallucinations. Like, yeah. But I do track the incorrect error. Like, for some reason, Emma, our other person in admissions, is MahiBot's favorite reference for any questions. So, but she's that now in our office. She answers all our questions about random things. So MahiBot thinks the same way. So she's always and we have I've configured no, Jasmine is the contact for psych. Jasmine is the contact for health science, but MahiBot likes to say Emma is the contact for all of this. So she'll randomly come up, and I have no idea where it is on our website, what PDF it's pulling from, but that's one of the hallucinations I can't figure out how to fix. But we're on top of it. But the human
Top
is
of it.
always in the loop.
Yes, and you have the data, which is like sometimes you ask about hallucinations. You're like, oh, maybe, but you're like seven,
7, I
is
have it. I have a dashboard for everything.
the.
So
I do have two quick kind of technical questions. We still have you. So to clarify, you're taking the chat transcript from PlayLab and
yes,
inputting that manually into the Airtable, right?
yes,
Okay. But you said it's gotten a lot faster.
yes, yeah,
Could you just explain, if it's
yeah.
possible, like how it got faster? You said like several minutes faster. That's a
Yes,
lot.
because in the past we had to review the conversation and figure out what the topic was. I would fill out the program, I would fill out the user type, but all of that now is done by Airtable's AI, Omni. So all of that entry, it's just going to review the chat conversation, and all I'm doing is reviewing to make sure it's accurate.
And is
And
the Airtable AI kind of new?
it's
Because
yes,
I'd been to Airtable and I hadn't seen that, but it was it's moving
yeah.
fast, right?
They
Okay.
launched it last, I think it was last summer, so I turned it on fall for us. And yes, it does a lot of those. They call it field agents, and it reviews the chat conversations or whatever field you have. It can review documents, and so pairing them together was like the best thing ever. Like it does what we want it to, and then some more.
Okay, and one more technical question. What would make it easier is if it went automatically to Airtable, and would that be a matter of a PlayLab, making that possible on the
Yes.
platform pretty much?
So I do want to add that our PlayLab is free. So so they're a nonprofit, but the what we have is a free package. It's like we've created multiple chat bots, and all of that is not there's no cost. And so there's certain features in the free like that you can't have, like you can't embed it onto a website. So we have it as a separate web page. But I don't know if there's some kind of setting that can just like I have an API to Airtable, right? That just extracts that conversation. But right now I haven't been. I don't know if that's a feature yet. So that's going to be a wish I'm going to probably message them and ask about.
Yeah, please keep us posted.
I will.
And for those that are new to PlayLab too, and if you want to check them out, the link is in the meeting notes with everything else. And I think they have they are free. Well, it depends. Like Jerilee said, there's different versions, and they have a playlist. Sorry, waitlist. I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Great. And accessibility is really important. And in this group, we also take and imagine different platforms that you might be working on and how we can adapt some of what you shared with us for different contexts. And there's so much there. Thank you. So I know some had to leave on the hour. Thank you so much to Jerilee and Jaime for sharing this exciting Mahi journey year 2 with us. Thank you so much to Shannon Scandozza for helping with the chat and the Q&A. Thank you all of you for coming all around the world. We had some joining at 1 a.m. That's how much they wanted to hear from you all around the globe. You're an amazing community. Please keep coming if you can make it. We'll keep doing this every month, and I know you want to hear from Jerilee and Jaime and how this goes. So please, follow the links and the blog on the Mahi, and we're really excited for what's next for Mahi, for you, for custom bots. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us
you.
again. Yeah, it's been great.